So I haven't done any video in a long time, and I haven't done any philosophical video or any thought-provoking video in an even longer time. So I definitely want to come back by giving you guys and girls a video that will be very thought-provoking, but that will also be useful. So I basically want to tell you what you have to do if you want to be a famous scientist or someone that will be known and famous because of an important discovery in the current 21st century in planet Earth for humankind. So first of all, before I dive into that and I tell you the idea that can be used to make the big discovery, because without the big idea, without that spectacular idea, you cannot make the big discovery. You need to have the idea first, and that's what I'm gonna give you. And I'm gonna tell you what experiment you have to do, what steps you need to follow to discover it. I don't know that, but I do know what idea could lead someone to that. You know, a smart scientist, someone smarter than me, who is truly into the scientific stuff or into, you know, figuring out what they have to do to become famous or whatever. That's not me, but I can give you the idea for that. So I'm gonna make this video two things, or three things. One, something that is worthy of a good or a thought-provoking science fiction TED talk. TEDx, right? TEDx talk. Number two, something that can truly be used, you know, by someone in a PhD program, by a real scientist to test something that could definitely lead them to a big discovery if it is more than just a science fiction idea, if it is actually something that is linked to something that is real in some way. And also I want to make this sort of like a philosophical exposition of that idea that I got, but that is not something completely new. Maybe what may be relevant is the way I thought about it, which is maybe a little different than before, but the idea is not something that is completely new. Just maybe the way I focus that idea, which I want to share because I am sure that even though I am not interested in using the idea for anything other than writing a good and innovative, groundbreaking new science fiction saga, I'm not interested in more than that. I can see the potential that the idea has. Even from my science fiction saga, I can already see how much potential it has. And it's pretty obvious to me that if some scientist who is capable grabs that idea and turns it into something that they can prove, it will be groundbreaking for science, for the person who does it. The person who does it, you're going to be known. Your name will be known. It's practically inevitable. English is my second language, so this is gonna happen. You know, and I didn't prepare for this talk. I just sat here and began to talk. Impromptu speaking is what you're getting here. So, the idea, first I'm gonna tell you what I came up with it. I've been thinking for a long time. I've been really digging into how to make a science fiction series that can be groundbreaking for the genre, that can really, you know, I don't know if that's gonna happen or not, no one really knows, but that can really make me one of the new and big and epic, and you can put all the adjectives you want there in that list, science fiction authors of the 21st century. So I thought, okay, what do I need for this? In addition to a story, a saga that is super entertaining, that has characters that are, you know, extremely engaging or interesting, so people will want to follow the lives of these characters, but that also has, you know, science fiction ideas that either haven't been seen that much or sort of new. So they can be something innovative for the genre, and the way I'm gonna use them can be something that whoever reads this great story with this really epic characters has never seen. So then they are gonna think, even if there's someone that read all the science fiction stories in existence and watched all the science fiction series like Stargate SG-1 and Atlantis and all those great series and Fringe, there are a lot. Not the X-Files. I didn't think the X-Files was that awesome, but I did watch it. I watched the whole thing, except the last season, I think. I watched all the seasons with Mueller and then. So, and Agent Scully. She was in all the seasons, I believe, even up to the last one. So, I want something new. I want something groundbreaking for the genre. And I want to give myself that challenge, the challenge of making that great saga. And I like those kind of challenges. It's something that I like to have as a hobby. It invigorates me. It makes me feel, like I'm accomplishing something great. So basically, I want that for me. But since I was thinking about ideas that could be groundbreaking for science fiction, and I wanted ideas that somehow I could use in a way that felt realistic, even if the idea is not proven, I began to come up with ideas that would be great for real scientists to actually try to prove in an experiment, not just for a story. So right now I'm going to share one of them. I am not going to share all of them because I do want to use them in my new science fiction sagas. And I do want to impress the readers when they read about that part in that story when I get there. But there's one idea that I really don't mind sharing this. And I would love to see someone test it. I don't know how you're gonna test it. You're gonna have to figure that out on your own. You will have to be someone smart that figures this out. Don't think that you're gonna get Don't think that I'm gonna give you a recipe to become like a famous scientist in the world, or to be someone like Einstein, basically, if you're not someone that is smart enough to figure it out. Like, I'm giving you the idea, but you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna prove that. I leave that up to you. But I would love to see it. I would really love it. I will be one of the people that if someone manages to prove this, I want to know how you did it. It's not just because it's an idea that I'm going to use in some of my stories, but I do feel interested in knowing if it is just a mere idea for the epic science fiction story, or if it is actually more than that. Because I'm getting the impression that nowadays people with good imagination, like authors of fantasy or science fiction, that kind of stuff, might be the kind of people that can come up with really innovative ideas that could be more than just imagination or more than just an idea for a story. And I know this because I've known many smart people smarter than me for sure, especially in academic tests, that kind of stuff. And I have begun to see that even though they were smarter, their knowledge and the reach of their imagination, perhaps even potential, was sort of like pigeonholed, like restricted, like boxed in their field. Like if it was engineering or computer science, it was there. If it was it required a lot of smarts. Those fields require a lot of smarts. But I was realizing that even though these people were incredibly smart, when they had to come up with something innovative and groundbreaking, it was still within their field. It wasn't something that was flying out of the box and into new, uncharted territories. That's the kind of thing that can lead to innovation, to doing new things, coming up with new stuff. But I know there are exceptions. There have to be also some genius level people that have that high intelligence and knowledge of the really smart engineers and scientists that also have the imagination component from the other side of of the creativity of the art people, writers and storytellers. What the area that I like more, pretty much. And maybe if one of those people gets this idea, they are capable of doing something groundbreaking. So I want to expose the idea so that someone else can use it, like in a PhD thesis, or to actually come up with an experiment or something. So the idea is what I call the revisited life force theory. So the life force theory is something that is not new. It's the idea that we, living beings, humans, have like a spiritual side that is not part of the physical side, but that is still a very essential and a very important part of us, of our existence, and our everything, basically what we are, who we are. So this life force theory, we have seen it in many things in history. We have seen it in obviously in religion. Almost all religions have something that ties to this life force theory. Like Christianity, they talk to you about the Son, which is Jesus Christ, the Father, who is like God, the creator of everything, everyone, including Jesus Christ. And then there's something that they call the Holy Spirit. And all three are like the Trinity. Something like that, right? I don't know a lot about religion, but I do know that. The Holy Spirit part is what ties into the life force theory. Like the idea that there is this spiritual side of us, or part, or component, or whatever it is. This is all theoretical, this is all hypothetical, but it has appeared in so many things that you can't help but think that there has to be something real that is somehow related to that in some way, and also important if such a thing really existed. So that's obviously there have been many people talking about this energies that could be God and all that, these frequencies or whatever it is, I don't know. But I thought, I came up with something in my story, which I'm not gonna talk a lot about that because I want to make sure that I leave the little details I'm gonna use for my story. But it's something that they take it to the extreme in stories like Star Wars, like the Force, and these spiritual beings appear, and they are like this energy, basically. And I'm not thinking about it that way, but as you can see, it has appeared in a lot of things, in religions, in movies, in entertainment, in other stories. I'm sure that has appeared in many other any kind of story, movies, in books, in series. The idea of this spiritual force or thing or something that exists, and I will use it too in my story. So I do believe that in my story the characters and their lives are going to be even more interesting than all those interesting things. Like basically I'm thinking this period age Legend of the Gods saga that I have in mind has many important and groundbreaking ideas for the series, like the creation of the human race by other intelligent beings, this existence of a life force in the universe, and there's other stuff in there which I'm not gonna reveal. You will know about that when you read it, when you get there. But it's this idea has been seen for a very long time in humankind, has been used so many times, but no one has stepped up to the challenge of actually proving if there's really something like that or not, in a way that cannot be refuted because it is an experiment. So here's the proof, here it is, not just an idea anymore. And I think that it will be worth it. I'm 100% sure that if anyone figures out how to prove, the existence of some life force that is, like the spiritual part of the living beings, something like that, or at least, mix or intermix with us in some way, I don't know. This person will be like the Einstein of the 21st century. It's pretty obvious to me, because it will be something even bigger than not even bigger, but maybe at the scale of when they discovered that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe and it was just another planet and in another solar system within another galaxy. Nothing special, nothing out of this, nothing from the other world, nothing extraordinary as they used to think. Then the next big discovery, I think, was the theory of relativity and space-time from Einstein. That was obviously pretty big, to change what we know about reality. Basically, what we know about reality, it obviously changed a lot from, we live in this flat world, to, we live in something that is more like a sphere, and we don't fall off, even though it is a globe. We don't fall off because of gravity. Then obviously, then came Newton. Newton found all this. He proved, finally, the existence of a gravitational force and all that. And everyone knew that such a thing existed because they were seeing it, but no one had proved it yet. So obviously, the one who did prove it first was known forever as one of the big scientists, as one of the big people from that century and from the human race that figured out how to prove that. There have been many scientists. I mean, I'm not saying just these people that I'm naming are the only ones that did great things. There have been many people that did great things, but you see where I'm going with this. So first big thing, the people that discovered that the Earth wasn't flat, or it is a globe. Next big thing, the people that discovered that this globe is not the center of all existence in the universe and all that. But this globe actually is a planet within a solar system, within a galaxy. There's a lot more. And then came Einstein with his theory of space-time and relativity. Something completely new now to reveal the truth or the reality about life and existence and all that, to bring more light into it, into all the truths behind it. So I think that the next step will be if someone came and figured out how to prove this spiritual side that we have. Apparently, it seems like it. And how to prove it through the existence of something that can be proved, like gravity. Like gravity, we cannot touch it. I mean, we cannot see, strands of forces of gravity pulling everything with their hands, but we know that it exists because everything falls. You fall, the objects fall, everything falls, even the planet, Theoretically, we can say that it is falling towards the sun always. So there's so much proof, but someone had to make an experiment to say, hey, this is not just because we're seeing it, this is, the way it is in reality, in life, the way it works. So I was thinking about this. So many people have come up with this idea for the religions, for stories, for this, for that it starts to feel like something that maybe is worth digging into or trying to prove. I don't think that, I'm not smart enough to come up with that experiment, but I came up with the idea. I've seen many other people coming up with the ideas, and I don't see any, big work or people actually trying to prove this. So maybe if I do a video that can motivate others to go for it, I'm not going to go for it, not I mean, not because I didn't have potential for that or anything like that, but because I really, for my hobbies and for my life outside of a job or work, I like to do things that make me happy, and you know, things that give me joy, and I enjoy working on hobbies like the stories and that sort of thing, much more than trying to be a scientist now. Like, I mean, if I made that discovery, or anyone that makes it, you're gonna be very famous. You will be known, and your name's gonna be in history, and your life too. But I'm just happier writing and doing the imagination related stuff, and doing other things that I feel that are worth more if, of my time, I want to dedicate my time to the things that make me happy, to the things that give me joy. And I was never, even though I'm smart and all that, I was never, deep down, I was never the true engineer and the true scientist, even though I used to be very good at those classes and those subjects and all that. But it's not what I really wanted to be, and who I really am. But for the ones who are, keep listening, because I'm gonna give you like a framework based on ideas that you can then use for whatever you wish to do later on with that. Even if you're someone that wants to write about that, go ahead and do it. Great. I think this is an idea worth spreading, so that someone's eventually, proves it, or at least digs deeper into it, and uncovers what is the truth from this idea, which I think it's very likely that there is some truth in it somewhere, somehow. Because then how do you explain that so many people come up with this idea, and so many people feel that we have this spiritual side, and they connect it to God right away, and it's, it's pretty obvious that there is something, I guess. So I'm gonna tell you, because it's difficult, so I'm gonna tell you maybe what would be some ways that we can look at these, so that it doesn't feel like something crazy to try to prove, so that it feels like something that makes sense even to try to prove. So, okay, first of all, the logic, in philosophy, in math, they try to prove things with theorems and with hard numbers. Like, you cannot disprove this, look at the numbers and the theorems and all that. There's no way to disprove this. But in philosophy, they like to prove things with logical arguments that, even though at the end of the day, you're not proving it for sure, at least you're giving an argument with ideas that will make anyone think, oh wow, that makes sense. I mean, it's not proven, but with a good philosophical argument, you can convince a lot of people towards thinking that at least it makes sense, at least it's worth it. So for me, what I will put, like in a TEDx talk about this, as my philosophical argument for this life force theory that is connected to life in some way, is first the fact that other forces of that caliber, that affect all living things and all objects in the universe already exist. Gravity it's the obvious example. You can see it. I mean, you cannot see strands of a force holding things and pulling everything. You cannot see that. Our eyes cannot see them. Who knows if there's something that can see it, but our eyes cannot see them. But you can feel it. I mean, you jump and you're going down. You're feeling it. It's there. Affecting all of life, including your life. Everything, affecting everything very much. So, if there's one force like that, which already exists, and this is already proven, because gravity already exists, we all know that, then why can you think that there is another force of that caliber, maybe even others, not just another, that exists? I mean, it makes sense. When there is one, it makes sense that there could be another, of whatever thing that is, of that kind of forces or whatever it is. So I was thinking, what if there was another one of those forces, like gravity, that in some way that is not, gravitational, but that is different, still affects everything. And something that we can see, that we can feel. Let's say that there was a like life force that affects life and living beings. In order to prove it, since we cannot see it, just like gravity, we cannot see strands of gravity acting on things, we cannot see it, you have to somehow begin from the things that sort of show you that there's something like that. I think the things that show it are that there are way too many people that are spiritual or that feel. It's not just religious people, but it's a lot of people, honestly, that feel like they have like a spiritual part in them, or as part of them, who knows. And it is not just the religious people, it is all kinds of people that I have seen. They either mention it, they say in some profile that they are spiritual. Oh, there are so many of those nowadays, including me. Not religious, but spiritual. So you still, even though you're not religious, the religious kind, at least not the highly religious kind, you do admit and you do feel that there's something in a spiritual plane that somehow is, related to you. So there are so many people that feel that there's something in that spiritual plane. So I think that already is like point one. There's already one of those super important, huge forces that affect everything, that affects everything, which is gravity. So why can't there be another one that is that strong and that important and that, omnipotent? I know that's too big of a word for force, who knows? But if there's one, there could be another. That's argument number one. Argument number two. Just like we digged into proving gravity because we could see that there was something there. I mean, everything's falling. There's something to explain that. There's something there, obviously. But maybe we could dig into this different one from a different perspective. Too many people believe in the spiritual side. Even people who are not religious. Like there has to be something there. Makes sense. So we got two things in there already. The stuff from gravity. Why can't there be another force at that level? The stuff from the spiritual side that too many people feel. Like that's like a clue that there's something there that could be proven and that could be big. I mean, so if someone proves something in that caliber, I will consider them at the level of Einstein, basically. For sure. I mean, to me, there's no doubt about that. It's not going to be me, but hopefully I can motivate someone. I would just use these ideas in science fiction stories, but I don't want to dive into scientific theories and stuff. Even if I use them in my books, I'll just use it in an interesting way, which is what I'm gonna do. I will use it in an interesting way. I'm not gonna try to prove anything or anything like that. I will just use it to make a good story, an interesting story, and that's it. But I will be quite excited if I see someone proving this. I will be like, what? Let me see what they did. What did they figure out? Obviously, I didn't figure that out. I just thought about it as something interesting for the story. Something else that might motivate you or someone smart that you know. Maybe you're the family member of that scientist that could do it. You never know. Or the husband or the wife of someone that is smart enough to do it. You never know. Show them this video then. Because sometimes those people that are so genius, they need motivation. It's not easy. They need motivation sometimes to do the big things. So I'm gonna give you some more motivation for that. So What will happen if such a thing was proven? Someone actually proves that there's this spiritual force in the universe, or life force that affects life in general, not just ours, but maybe even the life of all animals. However, it affects ours more because we are a little smarter, so we can actually understand it and see that there's something going on there. Like a dog or lizard, you can tell them everything you want about this life force and this stuff, and they can't comprehend it because they are not at our level of intelligence. But we can comprehend it. Perhaps, like in my stories, if there are other races that are even smarter than us, they will even comprehend this more. And they will not just get the idea like me, but they would, figure out how to prove it. So, some other ideas that I'm going to give you to kind of motivate for this. Let's say you prove this, that there's a force of this. It will explain, perhaps, this is all hypothetical here, this is all assumptions and philosophical stuff, which I love talking about. Let's pretend that's already proven. It will explain so many things, most likely. Like, for example, if you have read about astronomy like I did a few years ago, they have found that there's something that they gave it a name because they didn't know what it is, and they apparently didn't know how to prove it either. There's something that is somehow playing a role and affecting things in the universe, basically, in galaxies, and perhaps even in our planet, everywhere, who knows, that they call dark energy. They just gave it the name dark energy because they don't know what it is, and they needed to put their fancy name. So they knew about that dark matter, and maybe they were trying to relate it to that. But this something else, this dark energy, let's pretend it was this life force. Imagine if such force was affecting everything, and perhaps even making it possible for living beings to exist to some degree. It will be as important as gravity, perhaps even a little more important, because if it's affecting all living beings and giving them, the not the potential, but perhaps even the ability to be alive, who knows? And it also plays some sort of role in holding or affecting all the other things in the universe. It will be a really big thing. It will be, who knows, perhaps even the biggest force that has been found and tested. It hasn't been found and tested. I'm just telling you this to motivate it. But yeah, imagine that such a thing was proven and it was tied to the dark energy stuff. It will bring a lot of light to all of that, and it will explain many things. But I also believe that, there are many things about us that haven't been explained. Like people, people that, what's the name of that? Like, I probably remember in Spanish and not in English. It's the people that feel like they are like 50% in this world and 50% somewhere else. That has a name. It's not a disease. It's like a disorder. It's oh yeah, I remember what it is. Autism. So the people that have very high autism, that many times they feel like if you ask them, they feel as if they were not in their bodies, something like that, as if half of them was here and the other half was somewhere else, another place, or something else. Perhaps not even human, something else, who knows? if this life force thing was proven, then perhaps it will explain why that happens to those people that have that. And the explanation will be that maybe this life force link, which I'm gonna throw a guess, not a wild guess, but a smart guess, and say that if there's such a thing as a link with that force, it has to be in the brain, obviously. But maybe there's such a thing as, we have like physical disorders, which are diseases, but maybe there's such a thing as a disorder with that life force stuff. If there was such a thing, then that will explain why those people have those problems and why medicine cannot fix it. Because medicine can fix, well, not fix, but help, alleviate. Sometimes fix, not completely. It's like in most cases, medicine doesn't fix things completely, but medicine is for the body. It's for the physical. But what if there were things or problems or stuff which were more about this life force stuff? I don't know how to explain it well. Even I don't know how to explain it well sometimes. Or the mental, or maybe they're intertwined. This, the mental. I don't want to say dimension because maybe it's completely mumbo jumbo. Not mumbo jumbo because good ideas, even if they are wrong, the good ideas that are wrong have a bigger chance of leading smart people to the good ideas that are right, and that will bring innovation and really big things to humankind or to any race, anywhere. That's just how it is. So a great idea, fantastic idea that is wrong is better than a very mediocre idea that might be right. Because someone who ponders on that fantastic idea that was wrong may end up coming up with another fantastic idea that's actually right. And they, might end up doing something great with that. So yeah, I feel that this stuff could be connected somehow. All these disorders that are not physical, but that, they're like kind of like, they cannot explain it in medicine. Maybe they cannot explain it in medicine because they are not physical. They are more related to this stuff that we cannot see. But I am a big believer on the fact that everything can be explained. If we don't know it yet, that's something else altogether. But everything can be explained in some way. There is an explanation for everything. We just have to find it or figure it out. Let me think, make sure that I don't forget any of the good ideas that I have for this. Should I mention them all? Remember, I didn't prepare myself for this talk. I just sat here and began to talk. That's it, impromptu. I didn't prepare myself for this. So, if it was an actual TEDx talk somewhere, I'll be, better dressed, not just with a NASA teacher and with my one of my favorite quotes. It's not a quote. This is, it's from. I'm not gonna tell you from where it is. The people that watch it will know. They're gonna recognize right away from what series this clothing comes from. It's a series I really enjoyed, an action series, like my science fiction series, but it's more fantasy stuff. And my science fiction series are not hard science fiction. They are more like adventure and action. But I do like to throw smart ideas in there, to make it interesting, to make it cool for everyone. Not only for people that want to read an adventure, also for smart people that want to read a science fiction story that makes them not think hard like a professor, but think like in an interesting way. Like, oh wow, that was cool. Or that was really interesting to read about that kind of thing. Okay, so let me think. I think I had one more idea for this. So I already said the stuff about comparing it to gravity, comparing the life force to gravity. That maybe the life force could just be another force of that kind, but that instead of making things fall towards each other, pull and push, maybe it makes things be alive. Maybe, who knows? Or maybe it makes maybe it affects everything in other ways that we just don't know yet. The gravity stuff I already mentioned. The idea that maybe could affect us, maybe in some diseases that medicine cannot fix because they are not, like in the physical realm. Maybe that can explain it in some way. That's the other idea. The dark energy stuff was another idea. Maybe it is related to that in some way. Oh yeah. The more scary ideas for last. The more scary idea for last. I thought this is a really wild idea. Like this is this is really good for science fiction, for stories. We have already sent this idea. Like I'm not the first person that throws this idea in a story out there or anything like that. But maybe the way in which I focus it is a little different than others. Like this life force thing idea. Something else that made me think about it again was when I play VR games, virtual reality games. And when you play virtual reality games, especially the top ones, the really good ones, you put on the headset, and when you're playing that, you see as if you were someone else. As is apparently you're someone else. You're not, because all you have to use is just grab this headset and take it off, and you're already here and you're yourself and everything is fine, and it's a game. But what if this life force thing, like I've read about it, but they didn't describe it that way. There are some people that say that that God could be like a force, like an energy, like this life force thing, instead of an old man with a big beard, like Zeus. No, like it could be, like I wouldn't be surprised if there are other races. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But this God entity, like all powerful and creator of life and all that, it doesn't feel completely crazy what I read from those people that say that it could be like an energy, and that maybe that's like that energy is like part of us. But then I thought, oh well, what if, because my mind was really wild with ideas back then, because folks, remember where I come from, storytelling, science fiction. I wanted something epic. I wanted big ideas for my stories. So I thought, what if there's like this force is like an element of what gives life to all living beings. Like if you have ever been in a place where there was a dead person, and I was once in a location where there was a dead person. Nothing bad happened. It was natural. It was a family member, obviously. But I realized that day that there's a big difference between a person that is alive and a person that is dead. And I didn't feel, it didn't feel to me like the difference is just physical. Like it felt like the person looked as if something essential, like as if some energy, basically, some life energy or life force had left their body, basically. So they look like a rock, like an object. Like when you're alive, you can tell it's not an object. Oh, this person moves, this person talks, this person is alive. But when they're not, it's like you're gonna laugh at this even though it's pretty serious. It's like a bag of potatoes. Even though it is a human body, you can tell that there's something essential gone, and it doesn't feel like it is just a physical part. Like if you tell this to a doctor, they're gonna tell you, oh no, what happened there is that all the neurological features and the brain turned off, and the heart stopped, and there's no more blood pumping in the body. So that's why the body gets like that, like a cold stone that is not alive. Well, that might be right in a physical sense, like from a physical realm, but what if there's something else? What if the way it felt to me that day when I saw this person, this family member of mine, it felt as if something else had left this person. It felt like more than just, oh, the brain stopped and the blood stopped moving. It felt as if the life in then had left, as if the life was a thing that left the body, basically. And that's another idea that will probably motivate a lot of people to want to prove this. Maybe you're not motivated by science fiction. Maybe you're not motivated by the planets and the universe and space and all that stuff, which is real, but we're not seeing it here. We're too small to see that with our eyes. But maybe you're more motivated by the fact that if you have seen that person, you know that something left. Something like a life force, something important, something that we don't see, just like gravity. We don't see gravity, but we know there's gravity. We know it's there. We know that it exists. So it feels to me like there could be, I don't know for sure, but it feels like there definitely can be like a force like that, but for life itself. And I think that it would be good. It would be good if someone really smart, like a genius. Not me. I'm pretty smart, but I'm not a genius. Honestly, like right now, I'm a pretty smart guy, but I'm not a genius. Like someone that is really Einstein level chooses to do this. I'm gonna prove that stuff. It's really interesting. Like, let's see where I can begin. What do I need to learn to get it done? I would love to see that. I would love to motivate someone to do that. That would be so great. Which, by the way, I wouldn't mind giving this as a TEDx talk, like at a national level, something like that. If I get called for that, I will do it. I think this is important, to be honest. So obviously, if they begin asking too many questions, they're going to realize that I'm not a scientist and I am not an engineer, and I'm just, good for the imagination part and the ideas, and not for the other stuff. So, but that doesn't matter. Sometimes the ideas, which is the point where it begins, are what matters first, and then you can worry about the rest, because you need to begin first. And ideas are what begin everything. If you don't have the idea, you cannot make the project. It doesn't matter what the project is. Doesn't matter how hard the project is or how easy. You need the idea first. So, what else? Another idea I have for that, which I hope I'm wrong about that one because it would be mind blowing. But regardless, I do want to make sure that I talk about this, because how is someone really smart going to get motivated to prove these things and to think about these things if no one talks about them? Because nowadays, like, most people will look at you as if you were like back crap crazy talking about this stuff. I'm not, by the way. I'm very lucid, so don't worry about it. So basically, the last idea, the one that would be the most scary, that this will be worse than the Matrix. I hope it's not like that for real. Is the virtual reality stuff gave me the idea. Oh boy, what if this life force thing worked that way with the bodies of living beings. Like this force exists everywhere, and living beings are just like the bodies that can encapsulate it in somewhere in their minds, and then they are alive with it. And obviously, they all have their individual identities. Like I have mine. I'm Pedro Cristobal. And you're you. You know, think about your name. You know it better than I do. But even if we have our individual identities, maybe, you know, the only reason why we can be alive is that this life force that mixes with our body makes it possible for it to be that way. Who knows? That would be mind-blowing. Like if living beings, even the smartest ones, were just like the, you know, like the bone and flesh and brain capsules that encapsulate this life force and make it possible for this life force to live as a living being. That would be worse than the Matrix. But it's just a wild idea. Well, really wild idea. But those wild ideas are what eventually leads someone to come up with big discoveries. You have to begin somewhere. You have to begin there. And I feel that nowadays the ones that have the most, you know, largest number of wild ideas that are really interesting to listen to and to know about are the creative writers, the storytellers, the people that think about the amazing stories. Highly creative people with an imagination that moves the world. Like Einstein says something like that. Imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge gives you what is already known, but if you want to go beyond and figure out what is not known yet, well, you have to imagine it, I guess, and then you have to do what I do. Hope that there's someone else that can prove it. Or maybe you're smart enough to prove it yourself. Me, I'm good enough for imagination, but not for the scientific stuff. But I do like to talk about it. It does invigorate me to talk about it. I do like smart stuff. You know, even if I'm not at peak genius level or anything like that, I do love it. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? So yeah, if you know someone that is very smart, someone that is genius level, that you think that could do great things this century, and you think that they're capable of proving something like this, something like the existence of life force in a scientific way, show them this video. Hopefully I can motivate them. If you're another author like me that has great stories in mind and you want to steal a story idea from this video, go ahead. These ideas need to be known. They need to be spread. How are they going to be widespread if I'm the only one that knows them? How are they going to be widespread if I'm the only one that knows them and talks about them? They won't be. So there have to be more people that know it, more people that think about it. Maybe one of them will be the one. I'm just someone that talks about it. I'm going to be the one. I mean, I hope I can be the one, at least for writing a wonderful and really epic science fiction saga. I would love to revolutionize the genre. I don't know if I will do it or not, because you really don't know until the story is done and it is out and people go crazy with it. You don't know until that happens. But I know I got potential for that. And I hope that someone else that has the scientific potential for the other part can prove the other stuff and the ideas. Like I was thinking, yeah, another one. I have so many great ideas. It's just crazy. For stories, especially for stories. Another one that I thought, like, if this life force idea was a thing, that you know, like the living being is just like like a living body that encapsulates this life force in the mind, and then this living being lives its his or her life partially thanks to this life force, because if there was no life force, maybe none of the living beings will be able to live without it. So obviously it's partially because of that, if that is something that does exist. But then what if something could be built to encapsulate this life force, like the living being does, like the brain does, if it is real? And what if this something was not necessarily like a living being? It was something else, like a robot. Like this could lead to a great story, to like a story of a robot that is a lot smarter than a human, but that wasn't developed by trying to how do I say this? By trying to replicate the intelligence of the human brain in the programming of a computer, but that was made by figuring out a human-like or human-looking object that also encapsulated this life force, like the human brain or the human body, who knows, or like any other living being. Obviously, this will only work for a really good science fiction story if it was, at least a little bit true. Otherwise, it will be fantasy. It's not that it doesn't work, but it will be fantasy. It wouldn't be science fiction, but it will be too, like another level. So basically, this super intelligent robot will not be made by. And by the way, if you want to steal this idea to write a story of yours, go ahead. Even if I had the full story for that, which I got an idea for that, I already have others that I want to do, so I'm not gonna have time. A lifetime is not enough time for me to write all the things that I could write, and for me to, say everything and do everything. So I have to prioritize what comes first from the really great things that I think that I can do, at least in stories or in talks or in essays or whatever. I feel like I'm not gonna have time to do all of them. So I have to prioritize. Oh, this one is better. I'm gonna do that. Oh, that one is more epic. I'm doing that story first. Oh, this one is gonna make people go, wow. I'm going to do that one first. So I don't think I'm gonna do the one about the super smart robot that wasn't made by replicating the human brain in a computer, but that was made by catching this life force in the body of this robotic being, and apparently it catches this even better than a human being. So that's kind of like entering fantasy territory there. So it gives it this robot powers and things that we don't have, because it interacts with the life force in ways that we don't. So it makes it higher level or something. I don't know. So that's another idea I had for science fiction stories for this stuff. So as you can see, I had to think a lot about this life force theory and this existence of the possibility or of something at that level, because I use it in my stories. And I want to make sure that the stories are great and I don't mess up, make it feel realistic and very interesting. So, that's what I can give a passionate talk about it. I'm not an expert about it. I cannot even prove it. I hope that you can, or that someone else can eventually. But I also thought that, maybe making a video like this can motivate someone else. If you're smart, you will probably love watching this video. I mean, how many people talk about this stuff? No one. I'm putting in a YouTube video and publish it for the entire world to see. Someone like me, maybe. I mean, but it's extremely rare. I wouldn't expect to see this on front page anywhere, to be honest with you. But I still feel that it needs to be done. I mean, who knows? Maybe God, the life force, wants me to put it out there and to talk about it. You never know. You never know, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I think it's a good idea to do it. And yeah, I really hope, I wish that this will motivate people, other smart people. Don't be afraid of your great ideas. If you're smart enough, prove it. If you're like me, maybe write a book about it. That's good enough for me. And yeah, I was also thinking, what if no one proves it, no one finds out anything about it, and someone maybe 100 years from now, when I won't be alive anymore, finally proves it, figures it out, finds it, and does it, and it's next Einstein or something like that. Wouldn't it be cool that someone from before, even if the guy didn't prove it or anything, which is my case, already had the idea and already talked about it? And that would be amazing. I'm guessing that at that point in history, if people find out that this new Einstein that became famous because he proved the life force theory or something like that wasn't the first person that came up with the idea, and this other author who wrote this and this book already talked about it like 100 years before, just as a philosophical talk from a seat at his house where he lives. A lot of people will want to read what that guy wrote. A lot of people will want to know who that author was. I mean, if I tell you now that Jules Verne, the super famous science fiction author, guessed, maybe he didn't guess, maybe he was more than that, it was great imagination like what I have, who knows, how the trip to the moon was going to be. How many more people will have read what he did? What he did will be, it already is. He's one of the biggest names in science fiction, Jules Verne. A lot more famous, a lot better known, a lot more read, just because he guessed something from the future. And obviously, when that already happened, everyone goes back and says, oh, wait, what the heck? Who was that guy who guessed that back then? Let's see who was that guy. Must have been a smart guy, right? What did he write? Let's see. I mean, there have been other good ideas in there somewhere. And, I don't know. What if something like that could happen for me? That would be amazing. That would be epic. The big word of the moment nowadays. Epic. Maybe the big word, like in 50 years from now, it's not going to be epic. It's going to be legendary. Who knows? The next big word. The next fancy word that everyone likes how it sounds. But right now it is epic. So it will be epic for sure. And yeah, that was one of the many other reasons why I felt that I really needed to make a talk about this. And I will do other talks, but they're not gonna be about the life force theory or what I think about it. And obviously, anyone that reads what I'm gonna do for science fiction, beginning with Project H, The Legend of the Gods, which I'm going to begin rewriting it, because I did like 5 or 6 chapters, but the first 3 chapters, they were boring. They were not that fun, that good, that great. And it got really good beginning in chapter 7, but I thought, you know what, I want to begin it really good from the beginning, because then people are not going to be hooked. So I'm going to restart Project H, The Legend of the Gods, from chapter 1, a new chapter 1, because I was going to introduce the protagonist in chapter 7, but I thought, no, let's make a new chapter 1 and introduce one of the important protagonists in that chapter 1. and then we cover the other part of the story, and then that protagonist is going to come back, and it's going to be a big event in the story. I didn't do it like that the first time. The first time I just began with the other events, didn't show the protagonist at all, and I was thinking I'm going to introduce this guy and this woman in chapter 7, but then I decided, oh no, come on, the protagonist has to appear at the beginning so that people go like, wow, I want to read this. I want to know what happens next. I want to read the story where all this life force theory stuff isn't the most interesting part. The most interesting part are the lives of these protagonists from the Andromeda galaxy that eventually come to the Milky Way and create the intelligent races. So that's another good idea that I have. The creation of intelligent races. How can another intelligent race end up being the creators, basically, of the other intelligent races? So that's another idea that I'm gonna use a lot in this story of mine, but I genuinely think that the most interesting part are the lives of the protagonists. Even more interesting that the epic science fiction ideas like the life force and the creation of smart races by another smart race, and these two protagonists who are members of that race. So their lives are going to be more interesting than all that. And that's enough talking for today. I think I talked for 1 hour. Like a TED Talk about the ideas that this new author that is beginning can share with all of you. I mean, I'm more than just someone that writes as a hobby. Like I'm doing a master's degree right now in education. I want to work in education. I would also love to see my hobby of the stories become something big. I mean, if it doesn't, I'm gonna be fine, you know. But I mean, I know it has potential, so it could be, it can be. I hope it is, but we'll see. We'll see when I get there. And whatever the case, I'm still going to give some pretty good talks, really interesting talks, thought-provoking. Maybe I might give you even advice talks, so that it's not just interesting stuff, but it's stuff that can be helpful for your life. And since it's coming from someone that sounds pretty clever and smart, I hope that more people listen to it, then more people will be motivated by it, by what Pedro Cristobal says, and I will enjoy it. I enjoy talking about interesting stuff and about stuff that is useful for life as well. And I enjoy sharing my, if you look at my YouTube channel, you're not just going to see these epic philosophical talks going deep into a rabbit hole. No, it's not gonna be just that. You're gonna see, I might talk about that at some point. I like to share I like doing challenges, like for my hobbies. The writing of the stories, to see if I can make a really great science fiction saga. That's one of my challenges, in a way, for my hobbies. For my hobbies, I like challenges. Oh, I want to learn tennis. Oh, I spent months hitting that ball against the wall because it was a challenge. I had to learn tennis. And I did learn how to play it, by the way. Just from hitting and learning how to do the serve against the wall. I learned it. I did. It was hard, but I did it. So my other challenge right now is going to be writing this story. I have done a lot of virtual reality challenges in PSVR, getting platinums and all that. I like this stuff, and I also like talking. So let's do the talks as well. I hope you enjoy it. I hope this inspires someone to prove that thing and to be proud of your smart ideas, even if some people think you're crazy because of them. Doesn't really matter. I mean, you know what you are, you know what you have, you know who you are. So go forth, my clever and imaginative, smart people, and do great things with that intelligence that you have. and motivate others to do their great things too. I'm gonna leave it here because I could continue talking for another hour. Okay, so I had two cameras, the phone and the other camera. So this is the phone going out,